Hey guys, this is instead of writing the directions out, I thought I'd make a video about how to do this assignment. And in the video, we'll actually do an example together. So you'll be able to look at this to see exactly how you're supposed to do this assignment. I'll go through and do one of the questions with you guys. You'll get that answer right as long as you watch the video. Alright, so remember this topic is about voting rights in U.S. history and who can vote and who cannot vote, depending on the year that was and the time period. So what you're going to do in this assignment is look at all this information that we have here, and then you're going to look at an imaginary person. So just a person that I made up, some characteristics about them, and try to decide whether they could vote in the year that I gave you. So let me explain that a little bit more. So the things that are on the left here, the things that are in green, those are laws or amendments that have been passed in U.S. history. In red, you have the year that it was passed, so like when it went into effect. And in blue, you have what it did, like what was the purpose of it or who it gave the right to vote to. Let me show you what I mean. So this one's the 26th Amendment. It was passed in 1971. And it lowered the voting age from 21 to 18. So that means that the 26th Amendment made it so you could vote when you were 18 years old. And it was passed in 1971. I'll show you another example. The 19th Amendment was passed in 1920, and it made it so women were able to vote. This included women of all races, so no matter what your skin color, if you were a woman, you could vote. So what does this mean? This means that before 1920, women could not vote. It took until 1920 for women to be able to have the right to vote. So any year before 1920, 1919, 1918, 1917, 1916, so on. Any year before 1920, women were not able to vote. So if I give you a person and you see that she's a woman and the year is 1918, the answer is going to be no, she cannot vote because she's a woman. If I gave you an example of a person and she was a woman but the year was 1921, the answer would be yes, she can vote because women got the right to vote in 1920. So it really depends on the year. You really got to look at the year to try and figure it out. Let's do an example together. So this one says, imagine the year is 1965. So we're imagining the year is 1965. So we got this guy. His name's Mark. He's 18 years old. He's male. And he's Caucasian. Which of the following best describes Mark? We got a bunch of options here. We got Mark is old enough to vote. Mark cannot vote because he's too young. Mark cannot vote because he's white. Mark can vote because he's a man. So what we'll have to do is look at the year, which is 1965, and figure out if Mark could vote in 1965. There's not really a whole lot of crazy stuff about Mark in terms of whether he could vote or not. He's male, and he's Caucasian. Usually men, if you're a man and you're a Caucasian in American history, there's a good chance you were able to vote. But he is 18. Like we said earlier, we know that at one point 18-year-olds could not vote. So what we're going to do is see if 18-year-olds could vote in 1965. If we scroll up and we look at the 26th Amendment, we know that 18-year-olds didn't get the right to vote until 1971. 1965 is before 1971. Therefore, we know that Mark was not able to vote in 1965 because the 26th Amendment hadn't been passed yet. So the answer would be Mark cannot vote because he's too young. In 1965, 18 was too young to vote, so that's why Mark can't vote. So we just did an example together. The rest of them are going to be just like that. It's going to be confusing, the assignment. Sometimes you really got to take your time and think about it. Some of the answers will stick out and you'll think it's the right answer, but you really got to take your time on each one and really think about which answer fits that person the best. If you have any questions, though, feel free to reach out, and I'll be happy to work through all of them with you. Good luck.